Greetings, fellow gorehounds, and welcome back to a Blood Splattered vlog. I'm the Horror Guru.
And I'm Count Jackula.
And today we're going to talk about Spiral from the Book of Saw, which, given that title, is the latest Saw movie. But it's a Saw movie with a twist. It's kind of like half sequel, half spin-off.
Yeah.
Which means it's going to be very divisive among the Saw fans. But personally, as a Saw fan, I love the shit out of this movie.
Yeah, I thought this was really good, but we'll tell you I think we should tell you one of the things where your mileage may vary.
Sure, yeah.
Right out of the gate, which is that Tobin Bell is not in this.
Yes, Tobin Bell, this is the first Saw movie without Tobin Bell at all, so he's not even providing the voice on, like, the tapes, because even in some of the Saw movies where the character is dead...
Yeah, he's still, like...
Yeah.
Apparently he's got a million pre-recorded messages.
Exactly.
You know, that is, like, apprentices just keep using.
The other thing that doesn't appear in this is Billy the Puppet. Now, you do get the pig mask, iconic
pig mask comes back.
But not Billy the Puppet. So if you're a hardcore Saw fan, that's obviously going to irk you a little bit, but trust me, if you give the movie a chance, it's good despite that.
Yeah, it is definitely a Saw movie, but the reason they call it Spiral is because they're obvious. It's kind of answering a question that I'd actually had, which is, when it gets about time to redo the Saw franchise, what are you going to do with the killer? Because, like, it's just Tobin Bell.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, it's not a guy, it's not a mask that you could put on a different guy. And their answer to this was to just create, like, one of his apprentices and just, like, have him just completely spin off.
Yeah, because in some of the old Saw movies, Jigsaw had multiple apprentices.
Yeah.
And in, like, 3 of the Saw sequels, it was 100% one of those apprentices that we were following.
Yeah.
And basically they go kind of a similar route with this, but it's less of an apprentice and more like a copycat, like someone who's inspired by Jigsaw's killings. But the same kind of idea applies here. Like, if you like the later Saw movies where Hoffman was the killer, well, this has a new person taking over the role of the Jigsaw killer, except in this one they're the Spiral killer as opposed to Saw.
Yeah. And the reason that they're the Spiral killer rather than the Jigsaw killer is Spiral plays by different rules.
Yes. Because one of the things is this movie, of the old Saw movies, the one this reminded me the most of was Saw 6, which also happens to be my favorite of the Saw sequels.
Yeah.
Saw 6, because in Saw 6, the idea was Jigsaw was targeting specifically people that worked in health insurance, with the whole idea being, like, now you get to choose who lives and
who
dies.
Yeah.
You know, you play God your whole life, now you have a chance to play God, and there's your family over there, and there's your coworkers over there. Who lives, who dies? You choose. You know, obviously with the very very on the nose metaphor being health insurance companies get to decide who gets the health insurance and therefore who lives and who dies.
Yeah.
This movie kind of takes a very similar politically driven tract that movie did, except this one is hyper focusing on police precincts.
Yeah.
And police corruption. And the various forms of police corruption, right down to, like, people who cops who lie on the stand, cops who shoot first, ask questions later, and then lie about it in their reports.
Yep.
The blue wall of silence is a huge theme in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
And just the overall corruption within the justice system. And much like Saw 6 or any of the other Saw movies, it handles that with about as on-the-nose fucking tact as it can, and that didn't bother me because all the Saw movies are unsubtle.
Oh, yeah, totally.
There's not a single subtle Saw movie, not even the first one.
No. Like, if you're trying to... In the beginning, it looks like they're trying to do a 7 thing, and then the first kill happens, you're like, okay, we're not doing a 7
Yeah,
thing,
because the original Saw movie was very 7 inspired. And you can feel that in this movie that was kind of harking back a little bit to that, while also going, like, yeah, but this is still, like the 8th movie or something at this point.
Yeah.
So we can't just take the slow burn that the first one did. We're going to have to, like, get down to it a lot faster. And I didn't mind that. I thought that they found a good balance between those two.
Yeah, we'll tell you about one of the things that makes the Spiral Killer different from Jigsaw in the spoilers. Because that in and of itself is a spoiler.
Now, some of my complaints with the movie, before I continue to suck its dick, some of my complaints with the movie are... This movie has a habit of doing a thing that some of the other Saw movies did, but I never really liked it when Saw movies did this in general, where they tell us whether someone survived before they show us the trap.
Yeah.
And that always bugged me because, like, part of the fun of someone going through the trap is seeing, are they going to make it out of it? Or
are they going to get out? Or what choice will they make?
Or will they be killed by the trap? And there's at least 2 people in this movie where they show us that they didn't make it out before showing us the trap. And I would have preferred to have seen the trap first, if that makes sense.
Yeah, me too.
My other complaint is... much like every Saw movie, it is very easy to pick apart the logic of the movie. The Saw movies, like most of the Saw movies, were written very fast and they were kind of rushed, and so they all kind of have this feel. And this movie doesn't necessarily have that excuse because they spent a little bit more time making it.
Yeah.
But it didn't bother me too much for the simple reason that that's kind of just Saw's bread and butter. Like the plots are always flying by the seat by the edge of their seat. They're just kind of
Now, one of the things that makes this a little bit different than other remakes, reboots, spin-offs, whatever you want to call it, in other series is that this actually is one of the major directors of the series coming back.
Yeah. Darren Bousman, who directed 3 Saw movies, if I remember correctly, before this one. So this is a 4th one, coming back to the franchise. And what I really liked about it is that he was able to imbue some new elements to it while also keeping the Saw feel going on. Like, you still get the speed ramping that happens when the traps are going on. You do eventually get the Saw theme towards the end of the movie.
Yeah. They make you wait for it.
And they kind of work elements of the Saw theme into like earlier themes throughout the movie.
Yeah, but which I was okay with because I got to be honest, like for me the Saw theme, I was like this doesn't feel like this belongs in this kind of movie at all.
It's the most glorious over the top theme.
Dun dun dun. I was like, I'm not saying it's not badass. It is badass. I just don't understand why it's in this kind of movie.
Yeah, like, well, okay, one thing I just want to make clear, none of the Saw movies are great movies, but I love them. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And this one, again, not necessarily a great movie, but I would say it's one of the better Saw movies, in my opinion.
I think it's actually it's definitely the best one I've seen, but I haven't seen 6 and 7.
Fair enough, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen every Saw movie, but it's the best one I've seen.
It's great. It's great in terms of, in the Saw scale, it's great.
Yeah.
In terms of every other movie, it's just a good movie.
Yeah. Like it's like Friday the 13th.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it a good Friday the 13th movie? That's all you care about. You don't care if it's, is it Prince of Tides? Like, no. No, it's not going to be Prince of Tides. It's going to be a Saw movie, and this is a Saw movie, and it's very good.
One thing that Darren Bousman added into this version of his Saw movies is that the old Saw movies all had a very particular look. They had that kind of neon lighting, kind of like the Matrix style.
Yeah. It kind of had that holdover from the 90s kind of lighting. Yeah.
Mainly because it was hugely inspired by movies like Seven, and so it kind of mimics that look throughout the series.
Yeah, because David Fincher kind of is one of the people that like defined the look of a 90s movie.
Exactly. And this movie has that lighting throughout it, but he also added a lot more color than was in previous Saw movies. So there's a lot more like huge vibrant reds and like greens.
It has its own visual identity.
And it kind of reminded me of Darren Bousman's other movies like Rebo the Genetic Opera or
Devil's Carnival.
Devil's Carnival, because he definitely experimented with having much more like colorful lighting in those movies. And he definitely brought some of that into this while still keeping it and making it feel grounded in the Saw universe. And I really liked that.
Yeah, I gotta admit, I don't know if I would have bought it as a Saw movie if it didn't have that slightly green tint.
Exactly, it's gotta have that at some point.
Yeah,
That was actually one of my complaints. I think it was it Saw 3D? Saw 3D felt like it was shot more straight compared to other movies, and there is a little bit of that neon green lighting, but you're like, no, you need that kind of green tint.
Yeah. It needs to be over the top. It's a fucking Saw movie.
Absolutely. So I think this was one of the most best visually looking Saw movies so far. I also, and I know this is going to be controversial among people from reading people's reviews of this movie, I contend that Chris Rock's character in this movie is the best Saw protagonist so far.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Like, he was super engaging. He was great. Yeah, I know people like to take that out of context clip of him in the car freaking out and going like, oh, this is funny out of context. But it worked for me in the movie.
No, in the movie, you don't think it's funny.
Well, because the other thing is that particular type of like, over-the-top performance is so Saw.
Yeah.
Like, Saw has this very particular tone where it takes itself so seriously, it becomes campy.
Yeah.
And that is a great example.
Yeah, we gotta ring that bell at least once.
Yeah, and that's a great example of that scene out of context, even in context, is a great example of that. You know, it's so serious, it's so fucking over the top that it turns around and becomes campy again.
Yeah, and even then you can tell it was deliberate because the thing that makes that thing so campy really is the way it is shot and edited. You know, so you know it was absolutely intentional.
So without getting into spoilers, basically Chris Rock's character is a cop who's kind of on the outs with his department because he outed a crooked cop.
Yeah, he's a snitch.
A few years ago. So the rest of the department does not trust him, doesn't want to work with him, and hates him. And he also kind of has a little bit of that kind of loose cannon thing from like cop movies. As a result of this, the idea is that he didn't used to be that way, but now that the precinct doesn't give a shit about him.
We start out, he's just like a normal cop, normal dude. Like
now he's got a little bit of Martin Riggs in him, you know?
Yeah, because he's like worried about who's gonna fuck him over next. You know,
and basically, when the Spiral Killer starts picking off cops one by one, he starts sending personal notes to Chris Rock's character, which naturally brings Chris Rock's character interested in taking on this case, despite the precinct not wanting him to take on this case because these are cops dying and he's a snitch. So fuck him. Yeah. And I thought like his whole conflict between being a cop, being from a family of cops, and wanting to play by the book, but also kind of having to not play by the book because the book won't let him. Yeah. Like I just thought it was super compelling.
Yeah, it was, because you spend a lot of time in this movie trying to figure out how dirty Chris Rock's character, how dirty or clean he actually is.
And that's one thing I also liked about the movie. It wasn't as cut and dry that he was just a Boy Scout.
Right.
Like he was not the cleanest cop himself.
No.
And it could have been like, it could have easily gone a far more preachier route by having him be a perfect cop too.
Yeah, but like, no, you don't get that feeling. You get that feeling like this is a guy who, in a weird way, breaks the rules in order to maintain them.
Like, yeah, absolutely. And it's also obvious that one of the messages of the movie is that even among the good cops, there aren't good cops because the system itself leads them to becoming bad cops eventually.
Yeah.
And so like I honestly, I was reading a lot of reviews that didn't understand that part of the movie. Like,
really? I thought that was fucking crystal clear.
Yeah, like I thought a lot of people thought it was like a weird contradiction that he was a bad cop too, and I'm like, no, that's whole the point. Like he started off as good cop.
Yeah.
And then through the system and through doing the right thing, he eventually evolved into being just as bad as some of the other cops. Maybe a little bit better.
Yeah.
But still bad.
Yeah, but like, and by a little bit better, we mean like, doesn't just shoot witnesses.
Well, yeah, he doesn't just shoot innocent people on a whim, you know?
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't just like, oh, someone was rude to him, so he fucking caps them in the head. Like, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they...
You know, he's a little bit better, but he's still like, abuses people that he's interrogating, right? Like that still happens, and it's an important plot point in the movie.
Yeah.
You know, like he still does shit like that, and he's still obviously skirting the actual rules and the laws and how he conducts himself.
Yeah, but it's weird because the movie also makes it clear that like the rules are being unfairly leveled against him where they aren't being leveled against other people.
Oh yeah, well, we're like, because the precinct hates him so much, they're making him have to play more by the book than the other cops have to.
Yep.
So it's like, I liked it because it was complicated and nuanced. It was a world of gray, not a black and white situation.
No, it is not a black and white situation.
And it could have easily had made it black and white, and I would have watched that movie too, but I kind of really liked the way they handled it.
Even if you are totally on Spiral's side, it's not black and white. That's one of the things I really liked about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I thought this movie had some really cool traps in it. Some really cool, gnarly stuff. Like, I really love the finger trap.
The finger trap was pretty good.
Finger trap was really...
Oh, dude, the one that got me was actually the first one with the tongue.
Oh, man, the tongue thing. Oh, dude. Ow.
Yeah, like, talk about, like... Well, the spoiler thing. There's a spoiler thing about these traps.
Yeah. We'll get to that soon.
Yeah, we'll get to that soon. I actually fucking... So Sam Jackson's also in the movie, plays Chris Rock's character's dad.
Yeah, he's the former police chief, and so on top of Chris Rock being seen as a snitch, he's also seen as like a traitor because he comes from a family of cops.
Right. Now, I will warn you, this is Deep Blue Sea, Sam Jackson.
Yeah.
So, like, he's in the movie, but he's supporting character.
Yeah.
You know, he's supporting character.
He's the other thing I really liked about this movie, and Chris Rock and Sam Jackson are the greatest examples of this. I thought this was some of the funniest dialogue in a Saw movie.
Oh, yeah.
Intentionally funny.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it felt like there was, like it's obviously not on par or on level of, but, like, it felt like there was a little bit more Tarantino injected into the dialogue.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like, the first conversation that the Chris Rock's character has, it's about fucking,
Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
That whole conversation was hilarious. And there was actually some lines I saw people in other reviews complaining about that I actually thought were really funny. Like, I thought Sam Jackson's "What You Talk About, Willis" was funny.
Oh, no, I did too. I was like, yeah, that's a fucking response to what Chris Rock just said.
Yeah. Like, I actually liked the banter in this movie. I thought, like, Saw movies often have very dry dialogue, and I thought this movie actually had a lot more life to the dialogue.
Yeah, juiced it up a bit. You know, I think it added something.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sam Jackson is great in this movie. Now, I will say this. Another caveat is Sam Jackson is not in the movie as much as you think he is.
Yeah, that's what I meant by Deep Blue Sea.
Because when I first saw, like, the trailers and the marketing for this movie, I thought that Sam Jackson was his partner or something.
Yeah, me too.
And I think that I don't know how I got that, because one of the trailers clearly marks.
Well, you definitely, like, if you got a Sam Jackson movie, you definitely want to highlight that.
Yeah.
You know, even if he's not playing the main character.
But he's actually a complete side character. There's actually a different partner that Chris Rock is working with, and we spend most of our time with Chris Rock watching him slowly lose his mind on this case.
Yeah, and it's funny because I don't know how to put it other than you're like, man, it's still Chris Rock.
I also really like... comparing this to one of my other favorite Saw movies, Saw 2, which also is a movie that follows a cop. I think that this movie handled the cop slowly losing his mind, the psychological horror of that, a little bit better than Saw 2 did.
I would agree.
Like, I really felt Chris Rock when he was losing his mind towards the end of this.
Yeah, because, like, you have every reason in the world to understand why he's at this fucking point.
Yep, 100%.
You know, like, you don't question it. You're just like, yeah, that'd drive me crazy. Like,
also, the element of him finding out some of the cops that he actually did like were also corrupt along the way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's also that's part of it, because you're like, wait, I like that guy. Wait, he did what? Mm-hmm. You know, like, didn't know.
And one thing I really like about Spiral in this movie is he's very much more system based. The original Jigsaw was really obsessed with the individual, like individuals taking their own life for granted, or individuals making choices and this and that. And while that was great in the original 7 Saw movies, actually, I think, is it 7? I can't remember if Jigsaw was 7 or if that was 8. Whatever. In the original Saw movies,
yeah, I can't either.
Because there was actually a previous attempt to reboot this franchise. It was just called Jigsaw, and I think this is a way better reboot than Jigsaw.
Yeah, no, it is. It is.
And in the original movies, he was very hyper focused on the individual, which is actually why I really liked Saw 6, because that was a rare one where he was also about the system.
Yeah. We're talking about, like, a whole system of things. Yeah.
And Saw 2 had a little bit of that as well, because there was, like, the cops and the criminal counterpoint going on in that one.
Yeah.
So it's not surprising that my 2 favorite Saw movies are the ones that are more system based than individual based.
Yeah. Because it makes a broader statement.
Yeah.
You know.
And this movie is 100% like Spiral is even more hyper focused on system based, and I really liked that.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think we should move on to spoilers?
I think we should 100%. 100%. Spiral is currently available on various platforms and in theaters right now to watch. Don't go unless you're vaccinated. But I highly recommend you do. If you're a longtime Saw fan, just know that Tobin Bell isn't in the movie, and give the movie a chance. Trust me, it's way better than people are making it out to be.
Yeah. Let me put it this way: if you go there without getting vaccinated, I'd like to play a game.
I'd like to play a game. You know? So go check out Spiral. It's really fucking good. I loved it. And with that said, let us move on to the spoilers.
Spoiler number 1. Spiral does not play fair. Ever.
If any of you remember that one of the conflicts in the original Saw series between Amanda and John Kramer, the original Jigsaw, was that John Kramer did not approve that Amanda's traps were unwinnable.
Yeah.
That you can't actually survive Amanda's traps. Spiral kind of plays by a similar game. Like, in theory, you might be able to survive, but only by such a slim margin. Like the opening one with the tongue.
With the tongue. Holy shit.
Like, by the time you're seeing the lights in the tunnel, it's already too late, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, you're already fucked.
You're already fucked at that point. Like even if he cuts off his own tongue and starts to run away, there's no way he was gonna make it out of it.
Yeah, Spiral is much more about, no, I'm sorry, there's no way I lose.
Yeah.
You know, like that, which was actually, I thought that was gonna really be a problem, but it wasn't.
No, it kind of works because the fact that the character of Spiral, which we'll get into in a minute, is also kind of based on revenge, makes a little bit more sense. Like he's taking out vengeance on specific people that fucked.
Yeah, because like the original guy was, the original one was about justice, justice for the individual. But the problem isn't the individual. The problem is the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, torture a few cops to death, and all of a sudden the precinct's scared.
There's no such thing as a good cop. The Jigsaw killer. I liked it.
Yeah.
But the other example, the finger trap. Like he did not actually have enough time for his fingers to get ripped off to get out of there before it started electrocuting him.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is that there's a lot more the choice is a lot more. Hey, it's which is worse.
Yeah.
As opposed to the original Jigsaw, like there was always like kind of that chance that you could just get out of it.
Yeah.
This one,
and there are people who did.
Yeah, and there are people who did. This one, no.
Yeah.
No. The way out of it is to like fucking cut off your own hand, no questions asked.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and even then you might not have enough time to do it.
Yeah, exactly. you know, because it's like you've got like the original Jigsaw is like, all right, stay here. And you have some time, but it's like a build-up. This is like, oh yeah, by the way, this is happening fucking right now, so you better make that decision in the next, 10 seconds.
I also liked, and this was actually like where I actually do praise the writers, I like that each person's trap was, again, tailored to their crime.
Yep.
That's something that some of the Jigsaw movies forgot to do, and some of the earlier ones were really good about that. Like the person whose problem was they've spent their whole life just like going from drug to drug. They have to go through a pit of needles in Saw 2. The earlier movies had it like tailored to their specific thing.
Yeah, then they got a little lazy. Yeah.
In this movie, it's 100% tailored to it. So you have the cop with the itchy trigger finger who accidentally killed a guy at a stoplight. Or not a stoplight. It was underneath a bridge, but the point is he killed a person who was unarmed in their car doing nothing.
Yeah.
And so he has to have his fingers ripped off.
Yep.
The one who constantly lies on the stand.
Yeah. Is the guy in the tongue trap.
Is the guy in the tongue trap. The person who, so one of the people who is the second in command under one of the old priest chiefs and then became the police chief by the time this movie's going on, that person constantly let a whole bunch of things slide and ideas go through so that she can build up into to become girl boss.
Yeah.
So she could work her way up the ladder. So she has a whole thing where it's just like sever your spine. Or die suffocating in hot wax, with the sever her spine being a commentary on her being spineless. And so I really liked that.
Yeah. But that was an example of a trip you're like, there's no surviving this.
The other thing I liked was some of the visual metaphors in the movie, because while you don't get the Billy puppet, you do get this one puppet, which is this pig cop.
Yeah.
Which is another reason why I like the pig mask comes back, because it's the whole pig metaphor.
Yep.
This little pig cop marionette. And I like that image because I noticed a lot of people reviewing did not catch this, that the whole image of the pig cop marionette is that the cops are all part of the system. They're all like even if they want to, they can't not be bad cops,
Yep.
And
that point I thought he made crystal clear by the end of it.
Oh yeah, because spoilers, when we get to the end of the movie, the climax of this movie. So throughout this movie, you have a couple potential spiral killers. The first thing is that the voice the person uses in the tapes that they leave for all of the victims sounds vaguely feminine. So at the beginning, you might be thinking that, like, okay, well, maybe it's the police chief who's a woman.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's the lady cop who's also on the precinct.
Yeah, or even like Amanda from the first series.
Or maybe Amanda's back or something. Like maybe it's that or whatever. But it quickly becomes clear that no, that's not who it could be. So the next suspects become like, okay, well, we have the cop that really hates the main character who would have had the case had he not demanded he have it.
Right.
And then you also have his partner who's going around and is helping him and seems way too Boy Scouty.
Yeah.
like almost suspiciously Boy Scouty. And you also have the main character's dad, Sam Jackson, who is the former police chief. Now, by the end of the movie, it turns out to be, and I know some people thought this was way too obvious, but I didn't mind that it was obvious. It turns out to be the partner.
Yeah.
And the reason why it turns out to be the partner is because the crooked cop that Chris Rock turned in, what that cop did is he shot a witness so that the witness couldn't testify and out another cop. So he shot the cop that was going to testify against a cop. The partner guy, the partner character, is actually the son of the guy who was shot. And the reason why he chose Chris Rock's character to kind of be his goddammit, what's the name of the guy who was hunting the Zodiac killer?
But basically be his Ahab.
Yeah. To basically be the guy who he plays with and sends all the notes to, is because Chris Rock was the cop who turned in the guy that fucked over his dad, that killed his dad. So Chris Rock is the one good cop that he might be able to work with. But it becomes clear that that's not even the whole case,
Yep.
Because one of the big twists at the thing is that he by the end of the movie he's kidnapped Chris Rock's father, and we find out that part of that Chris Rock's father was actually pivotal in a lot of the corruption in that particular precinct. Like he was behind a whole lot of like what do you call them? Policies that led to more police corruption throughout the precinct and led to more innocent people being dead, and more cops getting off for killing innocent people.
Yep.
And it turns out his dad was kind of like one of the he's
one of the orchestrators of that.
So at the end of the movie, he's given a choice to kill his dad, put him out of his misery before the trap that's gonna drains him of his blood.
Yeah.
Or free his dad. And he chooses to free his dad. But this triggers a new trap in which his dad becomes this marionette with this gun, and he'd already called the cops previous to this, so the cops bust through the door, see him with the gun, and shoot black man with gun.
Yeah.
And Chris Rock is left there like screaming, and the Jigsaw killer guy gets away. Like, that was a really good twist.
Yeah.
And also, I just love the image of the marionette, where it's just like they're all puppets to the system.
Puppets,
and also, this is the ultimate like revenge for the spiral killer guy, because like a cop killed his dad.
Yeah.
Why was that allowed to happen? Well, not just because of the crooked cop that killed his dad, but also because of the crooked cop's boss who backed the policies that would allow him to get away with it.
Yep.
So there's a little bit more. It's a little bit more systemic, and I just like, obviously it's not as good as like better writers and a better team would have made a more nuanced movie than this on it. But for a Saw movie,
it wouldn't be a Saw movie at that point.
But for a over-the-top Saw movie, I actually thought they did this really well. I thought it was great. I saw someone on Twitter who said that, like, oh, imagine making like the worst Saw movie, and I'm like, wait, hold on. We're not talking about.
I thought Saw 5 already happened.
I'm like, Saw 5, Saw 3D.
3D, Saw.
There is no way in hell. I can't imagine someone watching this and thinking it's worse than Saw 5 or Saw 3D. Those are awful.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Like, come on. I get it not being your favorite one, but this is way better than those two movies. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, be honest.
Good God.
But yeah, I thought this was a really fun Saw movie. I thought it brought life back to Saw in a way that Jigsaw didn't.
I absolutely agree.
And while I know it's very controversial among the fan base right now, I hope over time people grow to appreciate it. The way they do movies like Halloween 3 or Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
Yeah.
Movies that were kind of unfairly controversial for reasons that I think were unfair.
I agree.
And that over time, horror fans grew to really love them.
Yeah. Because, like, you know, there's Season of the Witch is a perfectly good movie.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And while Nightmare 2 isn't necessarily as good as Nightmare 1 or Nightmare
3 or Dream Warriors,
I don't think it's as bad as most people say. And honestly, most of the time...
I always thought it was pretty good.
And honestly, when I was growing up, most of the time someone hated that movie, it was because that's the gay one. You know?
Oh, see. Yeah, see, for me, like, the low point of Nightmare on Elm Street was 5.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And I didn't even hate 5. I was just like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all right.
Yeah.
You know? I still walked away going like, that was a good movie. A lot of people were like, oh yeah, it's the worst one yet. And I'm like, yeah, but that's on the Nightmare scale, man. The Nightmare movies on the whole are pretty fucking good.
Don't get me wrong. There's some dumb moments in Nightmare 2, like the whole, like, was it a bat or a bird thing? That whole scene.
Yeah. But I mean, like,
the body horror works.
Yeah. You know? All the body horror works. But like, I found myself going like, there's nothing. Look, they tried something different. Didn't quite work, but it was still pretty good.
Yeah.
It was still pretty good. And I don't know anyone who, growing up, like when that movie came out, I don't recall anyone actually hating it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it was just vastly overshadowed by Dream Warriors when that eventually came out.
Because Dream Warriors is kind of like top tier
fucking,
sequel.
Yeah,
you know?
Super awesome.
It's true. And I also like all the analyses that it gets now of people who talk about it from a perspective of a closeted queer character, which...
Yeah. Which you find yourself going... Yeah,
absolutely, and I really appreciate that. So I'm hoping that this movie, despite being weirdly controversial right now, at least on my social media feeds, I'm hoping that in the larger horror fandom that people appreciate it more.
It's a good movie. Yeah, it's a good movie.
I'm hoping over time that people appreciate this movie for what it is, and I hope that it doesn't get killed as a reboot like Jigsaw did, which... Jigsaw, like, it would have been fine if they continued from there, but I actually really want Spiral sequels.
I would much rather have Spiral sequels.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, and with that said, where can they find you, Count Jackula?
Oh, you can find me on Twitch at Count_Jackula, where I stream twice a week on Thursdays and Sundays at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where we talk about Satanism, gore, sexual depravity, and all kinds of groovy things. We'd love to see you there. You can also follow me on Twitter, where I complain about everything, at JackSatanWave. And you can find me on Instagram, where I sometimes put up pictures and weird, random, inspirational quotes under Satanic Jackula. And follow me there. Love to see you there. And what about you?
Y'all know me, I'm the Horror Guru. You can find me at the Horror Guru on Twitter, on Twitch, on Instagram. Just look up the Horror Guru or Blood Splattered Cinema and I'll be there. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that notification bell so you're notified of my videos immediately upon their upload. And if you would like to help out either of us more directly, be sure to check out our Patreon pages. And remember, if you decide to go the Patreon route, then even $1 a month can go a long way. And what hashtag should we make them say if they made it this far into the video? Let's see. Hashtag something.
Hashtag fingerbang.
All right. Hashtag fingerbang. If you made it this far into the video, comment below with hashtag fingerbang worked somewhere into your comment. And with that said, we actually got another vlog to record of another 2021 reboot of a longtime franchise. So we're going to go record that, and peace out.